This is a very touchy subject. Human beings need to have rules regarding their sexuality. They need to have rules. Do you realize that? Yes, we're under grace, but does that mean that you can just sin without consequences? Sin always has consequences, my dear friends. I'm very troubled knowing that child abuse is happening, child sexual abuse is happening in other cultures. Years ago on Facebook, a person admitted to me, yeah, that's part of the culture, this is happening. A person from a Muslim country said that. However, we don't want to be blind to what might be happening in our own society. The early sexualization of children. I read an article years ago how even 9-year-old little girls are getting their periods and they're entering puberty. And girls are entering puberty earlier and earlier because they're being sexualized at a very young age. And I think about myself. And I think maybe there were signs that something happened to me, but I don't have specific memories. By the grace of God, I might not have specific memories of abuse. But I think about the signs, I was showing the signs of somebody that had been traumatized as perhaps a toddler, perhaps sexually abused as a toddler. As I have stated, my parents farmed me out to so many different babysitters, and it doesn't make any sense. Because you get to know a babysitter, and you love that babysitter. And you feel as if you're part of the family, and there's nothing wrong with the babysitting profession. And most of the people that go into babysitting are very nice. They might need the extra money. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But there are a few out there who are actually predatory. And I remember when I was about 5 years old, waiting for the school bus at a neighbor's house. I'm not saying this neighbor did anything to me at all. I would draw pictures because I wanted to be an artist. Sometimes kids do weird things. Over and over again, I'm drawing naked people. Like, why am I drawing naked people? In my mind, in my little childish mind, I thought, before I can draw people with clothes on them, I need to master what a person looks like without clothes. I mean, it really was, I was very set on this idea that, I'm not allowed to draw people with clothes on until I'm able to draw them naked. It's just strange. I mean, I'm not a pervert. My parents didn't watch pornography. And yet, why was a little girl doing this? And I think the neighbor called that to my mother's attention. And she sort of scolded me, like, why are you drawing naked people? I tried to explain, well, it's because I thought that I couldn't draw people with clothes on until I could perfect. Nobody's born a pervert. It could be just a quirky thing on my part. But another clue, another sign. I remember when my parents were still married, they were having problems, but they were still married. I just told my parents, I don't know why, I felt like I could tell them anything. I felt like I was really part of this beautiful little cluster, this little nest, that intimacy that you have, that's emotional and it's even spiritual. And I said, I feel so ashamed. I feel so ashamed. And I didn't know why I was saying that. It was my way of bringing out the trauma. I guess it was my way. And I couldn't understand why I was telling my parents that. Perhaps I had just learned that word or something. I feel so ashamed. Like that perfectly describes how I feel. I feel dirty. I feel used, There's another incident that I can't even share today because I don't know who's listening to me. You might just... I'm not casting my pearls before swine. You know what I'm saying? Many of us were absolutely shocked when we learned that Jared from Subway was a predator. Shocked. Absolute. I mean, he was sort of a hero. I mean, so here's a person who has sort of a split personality, right? There you go. He's giving up overeating, he's getting fit, he's eating healthy, and he's really succeeding. And he becomes the spokesperson for a sandwich company. And yet, the kid he's a young guy and he's molesting children. And yet, you think about this. Like, on the one hand, he's a very good person. He's very much a role model. On the other hand, he's engaging in this horrible stuff, and yet nobody just becomes a pervert. You're not born a pervert. I'm saying something must have happened to him. You know what I'm saying? So it all comes down to that Bible verse, judge not lest you be judged. That's why I no longer say, well, my dad was such a horrible person, my mother was such a horrible person. Personalities are formed by experiences, genetics and experiences, right? Is it nature or nurture, right? It's always a combination of both. But should we stop speaking out? Should we stop saying, hey, this is wrong, you are violating critical boundaries? Why would we stop? If we could save one child. From molestation, from humiliation. If we could save one predator's soul so he could go to heaven, or she. That's what we're on earth for. To help one another. Not to judge, not to condemn. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.